Advent calendar box number 6 is needle felt Christmas trees, and this has to be one of my favourite. I do love a little bit of needle felting, especially when you can bring something together to look as effective as this. Here are 2 examples. I did pop in a variety of colours of jute because I couldn't decide which one looked best, so you can decide which one goes best in your house. So how do we make them? First of all, you need to make sure you put your piece of scrap foam on your work surface because you need something soft to stab the needles into. You've got 2 needle felt needles, a larger one and a more delicate one. You need to start by using the larger one and only near the end use the finer one. And do take care when you're using your needles. They're sharp and they will hurt if you miss and go into your fingers, so keep your fingers out of the way. You've got 2 pieces of dowel, one for each tree, and 2 stars, and we're going to do it just like candy floss. So just move my jute out of the way. You had 2 different types of wool. This one is the merino wool, which is all combed and pretty in all one direction, and the one in the bag is the core wool. So it's the core wool that we're going to use first. Now I do recommend that you split this core wool into 2 because you've got 2 trees to make. You don't want to use it all in tree 1 and then not have enough left for tree 2. So just take half of it. You can weigh it if you like and split it in 2, or just sort of get a feel for it in your hands. So just taking half of it, you're going to wrap it around the stick just as if it was candy floss. So nice and easy to begin with. Okay. So pull the fibres apart. You don't want it all screwed up, you want it sort of all loose, and make it into some candy floss that will allow you to stretch it around. So already you can see I'm working on thinner at the top, thicker at the bottom, because I want it to be tree-like. But look, got loads left, got loads to use. So you can keep building that up. And don't worry, the needle's going to help shape it into the shape that you want. And you can really smell that it's come from a sheep. It's definitely got that farmyard smell to it, even though it has been washed. It's the oils that you get in sheep's wool that you can smell. So before I've used it all, I'm just going to do a little bit of stabbing now to sort of hold that in place and to see what I've got. So using my bigger needle, keeping my fingers out of the way, I'm just going to stab the fibres together. Now you need to take extra care not to touch the dowel going through the middle, because it will break the needle if you do that, and you don't want to start off and break the needle. So you do need to do quite a lot of consecutive stabs. It won't do anything if you just kind of do this. Okay, you've really got to go at it to hold it together. And just keeping a feel as to where that stick is in the middle. You need to avoid the stick and you need to avoid your fingers. And you need to make sure that you're stabbing onto the foam. So I'm going to carry on shaping that. I'll speed up the video so you can see it taking shape. Okay, so the trick is to keep going. I have speeded that video up quite a lot, so it is quite a while that you are stabbing for, and I still got a bit to do, but I just wanted to stop the video at this point and show you that it's starting to hold its own. I need to keep the dowel so that it sticks out of the top so that I can glue the star onto it later. So make sure you don't lose that in the process. And you need to keep needle felting it now to try and get it into the shape that you want it to go into. So I've made it like a candy kind of cane shape with a swirl around it. So I'm going to keep doing that and try and achieve that with this. And you'll notice that I squash it together to bring it together into the position. And the trick is to always go in and out in the same direction. And you don't have to go all the way through to the foam. You can pop the needle in and out. As long as it's going in and out of the core wool, the foam is just there to protect your work surface. Okay, so I'll keep going and show you where I get to. You can almost tell how long I've spent on it by the sun moving round into shot onto my tree. So once you've got it, it's not firm, but it's holding its own, so it's not going to pull off, and all the bits are sort of secured. So then you're going to use the merino wool to give it that top coat, and you're going to do that by pulling away some of the fibres and then laying them over the top of your tree. And you want to go for a crisscross effect. You want the fibres to cross so that they turn into felt. So I've gone one way and then I'm going to go the other way. And to hold those in place, I'm going to just do some stabbing with my needle so they don't all disappear as I turn it round. So you're almost starting again now. The middle is just the core wool that's holding it into the shape you want it. And this is the top coat now, which is going to give it that lovely cream look. So pop some that way and then separate the fibres and pop them that way. Make sure they're all spread out and then start your stabbing. And it's helpful now because you can see where you're stabbing it and where you're attaching the merino wool to the core. Remember, be careful of the dowel. So I've been around and around it over and over. I kept adding merino wool till I got the thickness that I wanted and the look that I wanted. And now it's time to add the needle marks that will give you the spiral effect across and around the tree. Okay, so with the biggest needle, you're just going to use it like a sewing machine and go one after the other with the stabs in a diagonal direction across your tree, and then turn the tree and keep going, and that will be giving it the indent to make this candy look tree. And the more you stab, the bigger the indent. And you can work, once you've got them into position, you can work on them a bit more, but just get them where you want them first, and then you can work a bit more on the shape, because I feel like the top of my tree needs a little bit more shaping. I want it to go more into a point than it is. I'm just going to shape that as I go. Okay, and then still working on those indentations so they're really pronounced. And I'm going to add an extra one on this one. Just to give it a bit more and you can do as many as you want, or as few, depending on what look you're going for. Once you're happy with how you've added the indentations, then you had another needle in your pack, and it's a finer needle, and that's for finishing. So that means you can go over the tree and sort of just work on the surface of it. So I shall show you how to do that now. So using the finer needle, you just work into the surface to sort of tidy up and get rid of any stray bits and make it nice and smooth, like so. You can also rub over it with your fingers to smooth it around, but it is worth spending a little bit of time just working on those any fibres that are loose. This needle will finish them in. And you see how I'm using it at an angle, so not directly stabbing, because that's going to change the shape of my tree. I'm doing it on the side, so I'm just working on the surface. And I'm going to use that needle to just work a little bit on these indentations. Being careful with it because it's a thin needle. Like so. Not forgetting the sides. You're probably going to see these trees from every angle. So you want to work on them all the way around. And I mean, you can keep going and keep going and keep going until you're happy with how your tree is looking. And when you get there, when you're pleased with it, decide which colour jute you're going to use and tie yourself a little bow. So I'm using this one here, so just tie myself a little bow, make the loops the size that you want them, like so, pull it tight, and you can cut off any stray ends. And then you're going to use the glue from kit 1 to stick your bow on. So plenty of glue on the back of it, and then place it where you want it to go. And I'm just going to use a pin to hold mine in position for a minute while it dries, and then get your base, place it nice and sturdily into the base, and then your star needs to be fitted on the top with plenty of PVA glue. And then you're going to need to stand it up and place the star on the top of it. And don't touch it until it's completely dry. And that's how to make your needle felted Christmas trees. So you've got plenty of wool left to make a second one, and you can, if you've got a lot of wool left, you can make it a lot bigger depending on how much you've used, but I've got plenty there left in my kit to definitely make another one. So it's quite nice if you can do them 2 different sizes. I think they look good stood next to one another. They're different sizes, and that's the felted Christmas trees.